Alright, so the sale live right now on the Switch eShop is so big, I felt like it needed a bonus video, so here we are. Now there won't be any giveaway in this video like we usually do in deals videos, but do remember to check out Saturday's video, because in that one, I'm not only giving away 2 $10 eShop gift cards, like I always do, but I'm also giving away a copy of Chronos on Switch 2. So I'll link that video down below, maybe check it out next. As always then, we're going to be covering deals across the US, Canada, UK, Europe and Australia. And yeah, now, without further ado, let's get into the deals. So first up, we've got Death's Door sitting at a cool 75% off. That matches its previous low. Now, if you haven't played this one before, it's essentially an isometric action adventure with a bit of that Zelda-like charm. And yeah, just plain fun. The combat feels really smooth, the exploration super rewarding, and the visuals really creative with this neat contrast between two worlds. It's basically this black and white home realm, and then a colourful world, which is where all of the action goes down. So basically the concept here is you play as this little crow who reaps souls for a living. However, one of your assigned souls gets stolen. Now you've got to chase down the thief through this world so you can set things right and get back home. So yeah, great little adventure, more challenging than it probably looks. And if you do want to learn more, there's actually a review from me down below. So next up is Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition. This is 75% off. Now if you're in the US, that's a new low price. In the UK, it's been a little cheaper before, but either way, look, I think it's a solid deal. Now as for what the game is, this is a first-person medieval adventure that really leans into historical realism. So think less dragons and magic, more gritty swordplay and political intrigue. Now you play as Henry, a blacksmith's son who gets caught up in a civil war and ends up on this journey to avenge his murdered family and restore order. Now in terms of performance, just know that on the Switch 1 it can look a little bit soft and blurry, but on Switch 2 it's noticeably sharper and it runs better. Now if you do want to hear all the details, my full review on the Switch 1 build is down below, and there you'll also find my video on the Switch 2 build where I checked out performance. A huge thank you then to Sega and Atlus for sponsoring today's video with Persona 3 Reload out now on Switch 2. Now, I'm a massive fan of this one, played it when it first launched on PS5, and now, after spending time with it on Switch 2, yeah, RPG fans, you need to check it out. It's a game that really defined the modern Persona formula. You know, that mix of school life by day, dungeon crawling by night, but compared to later entries, Persona 3 is so much darker. Now, it opens with you transferring to a new school, only to discover an extra hidden hour between days. That's called the Dark Hour. It's where everyone turns into coffins and shadows appear. Now, you and your friends have to explore Tartarus. It's a massive, shape-shifting tower dungeon, and while you're in there, you'll be tackling enemies by summoning personas which are manifestations of your inner psyche. It is awesome. And yeah, look, Reload just gets everything right. It rebuilds the original from the ground up with new visuals. It's got redone dialogue. The soundtrack is incredible. And yeah, it is just so incredibly stylish. And there's even a free demo, actually, if you want to try it first. So check it out today on Switch 2 and use the link in the pinned comment down below. That helps out the channel. That support, always appreciated. All right, thanks again to Sega and Atlus. I love Persona. So yeah, awesome to have it here. This said, if you're after a first-person adventure that is pure high fantasy, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Anniversary Edition is on sale at 60% off, and that is a brand new low price. It's Skyrim, so you probably already know the deal here. It's an enormous open-world RPG where you can slay dragons, join guilds, and pretty much just write your own story. The main narrative setup is that you are the Dragonborn, a prophesized hero who can absorb the souls of dragons and wield their powers. But beyond that main quest, it's really all about the freedom to explore and get lost in this world. Now, it runs nicely on Switch 1, and while I haven't played it personally on Switch 2, I would say you can probably expect it to hold up slightly better. In any case, though, look, it's a classic RPG that is perfect for anyone that really just wants to dive into big, open-ended fantasy. Next up then, we've got Catherine, full body at 80% off, matching the low price, and this one's definitely a favourite of mine. Just be aware though, it's very mature, very dark kind of vibe to it. It is a really unique mix of visual novel storytelling and puzzle platforming. Now, story-wise, you're going to be following Vincent, a guy who's stuck in a tricky love triangle, and he starts having these bizarre, deadly nightmares. So the basic setup here is that those who are unfaithful or, I don't know, facing relationship fears, they end up in this, I don't know, we'll call it like other world. But if they die in the dream, they die in real life. So yeah, you're basically helping Vincent navigate both his waking life and these twisted dreamscapes. It's a one-of-a-kind experience. It's actually quite difficult to explain, but it's such a cool concept. And yeah, if you do want a bit more detail, my full review is linked in the pinned comments. Alright, so shifting gears a bit then, we've got the Hotline Miami collection. This is 80% off, matching the low price, and these are just two absolute bangers bundled together. Also just as brutally challenging as ever. So yeah, basically these are top-down shooters, all about lightning, fast reflexes, and ultra-violence. In my opinion, the first game is the stronger of the two, but I think both games have this really cool, surreal, off-the-rails storytelling vibe. You're basically following these cryptic phone calls that lead you to increasingly violent scenarios. Now, it is one-hit kill gameplay, so you will die and retry a lot, but it is ridiculously addictive once you kind of get into that rhythm. So yeah, like if you're up for a challenge and you haven't tried these yet, definitely give them a look. And since it's Halloween season then, let me give you a trilogy of games here. So first of all, we've got Fear the Spotlight. Now this is 50% off, that's a new low price, and this is actually one of the first releases from Blumhouse Games, who you probably know for their horror movies, but now they've expanded into games. The setup here is that you're playing as two characters, or well, kind of two characters. You're playing as one character who goes along with a friend. They sneak into a school to perform a summoning ritual, and yeah, it's a third-person horror adventure all about uncovering a mystery of what happened at this location. Along that journey, then you'll be solving puzzles, and as the name suggests, you stay out of the spotlight. And that's because there's a creepy enemy with a spotlight for a head hunting you down. So yeah, it's got this really cool old school pixel art style that gives it kind of a retro, eerie charm. And yeah, you're looking at about a 3-hour main story. If you do want to see my full review, it's down below. Continuing the horror theme then, we've got White Day, a Labyrinth Named School at 90% off. That's a new low price, and this one used to have a reputation as one of the scariest games ever made, or at least when it first came out. Now, by the time it was released, and well, that was 2 years ago, but now in 2025, it's honestly not really that intense anymore. It leans a little bit too much on the same repetitive jump scares as this head in a locker that keeps popping up. You kind of get used to it, you expect it. But I do think the concept's still really cool. So basically, it's set around this gift-giving holiday. It's Halloween. It's Valentine's Day, essentially. And you'll be sneaking into a school at night so you can leave a gift for someone you have a crush on. Naturally, though, things go sideways, and you end up trapped in this school with all sorts of supernatural happenings and, yeah, some pretty creepy janitors lurking around. Definitely fun. It's a nice little port. I didn't find it scary myself. I'm not great with horror games. But yeah, it's got a great atmosphere. Definitely worth the time. And yeah, I think this is a bit of a bargain personally. My review, down below. Wrapping up our little horror trilogy for Halloween then, Outlast 2. It's 75% off, and for those in the US and Canada, that matches the low price. In the UK, Europe and Australia, that's actually a new low price. Now, if you want something that is truly going to creep you out, this is the one. Both the original Outlast and this sequel just got under my skin. And yeah, I think Outlast 2 takes it to another level, honestly, in many ways. The first game, though, if you are interested, also on sale. But in this one, this sequel, you dropped into the remote wilderness of Arizona. You're up against a cult led by a man named Sullivan Knopf. Now, you play as a journalist named Blake who's investigating the mysterious murder of a pregnant woman. It is dark stuff, and of course, things go wrong very quickly. You can expect a nightmare of paranoia, religious elements, and some truly just like terrifying chases. So yeah, dark as anything, scared the crap out of me personally. I think visually it looks really impressive on Switch hardware. So yeah, if you're in the mood for some top tier horror, it's one of the best you can get on the system. Lightening the mood now then, we've got Dandy Ace at 75% off. That's a new low price. Now this one originally launched all the way back in 2021. I actually covered it on the channel then, so I'll link that video below. However, in the last 4 years, it's only ever gone on sale once before, so it's definitely not one that gets discounted often. Now I won't say it's perfect, but it is a lot of fun. It's a roguelike with a kind of Hades wannabe vibe, but I mean that in a good way. So basically you're playing as a magician named Dandy Ace, and they get trapped inside a cursed mirror by this rival. So the whole game is really about using different magical cards to create combos and, yeah, fight your way out. What's really entertaining with this one is you can mix and match these cards to change up your abilities. It gives you a lot of freedom to experiment with different playstyles. A warning, however, just on the back of this, it's not the longest roguelike out there. Maybe around 8 hours to beat that first run. But I do think it's got good replay value thanks to that changing of cards and different combos, and also, of course, the layout of the world itself that changes too. So yeah, it's creative, it's definitely under the radar, and I think at this price, definitely worth a look. All right, now Tokyo Xanadu, 40% off. That matches its previous low price. This is an action RPG that I never think it really got the attention it deserved. I first played it on PS4 way back in 2017, and it finally made its way to Switch last year. I'm really hoping this means we might actually see a sequel someday. But look, if you're into Persona-style games, this one it's a very similar vibe. So it's set in a version of Tokyo that's been rebuilt after this massive earthquake, but now in the background there's this hidden shadow world filled with monsters and mysteries, and you'll be playing as a high school student who gets drawn into these occurrences. So you expect to team up with friends, explore dungeons, and take down enemies in real-time combat. Just a heads up with this one very quickly, I've heard it's not running on Switch 2 just yet. Hopefully that changes, but on a standard Switch it runs just fine. And overall, it's a really cool blend of like urban fantasy and action RPG elements. I don't think there's too many games out there quite like this one, so I think it's definitely worth checking out if you're into the genre. Our penultimate game then is No Man's Sky. It's 60% off, matching its low price on both the Switch and Switch 2. And yeah, this is one of those games that probably doesn't need much introduction if you've been, playing games for a while. It originally launched back in 2016 and it had a rough start. That was on PlayStation 4 and I was actually there day one. Playing it now is just a completely different experience. On the Switch 1, I will say it's definitely soft and blurry, definitely quite a few frame rate drops. You can definitely basically see that it's very toned down, especially in the detail and the visuals. But on Switch 2, they released a free upgrade, and it is genuinely impressive how much better it looks and runs. Now, I've covered it a couple of times on the channel already, including a Switch 2 review and a sponsored video, so I'll be linking both of those below. But the amount of updates this game has received is just mind-blowing. Now, as for what you do, the overarching idea here is to find your way to the center of the universe. But really, it's a massive sandbox about exploration, discovery, and just getting lost in space. You've got millions of procedurally generated planets to uncover, explore, and each of them has its own ecosystem, resources, and just surprises. So you expect to be piloting your own spaceship, hopping from world to world, upgrading your gear, basically just carving out whatever that journey is that you want. There's really nothing else quite like it if you love the idea of endless space exploration. And finally then, we've got Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition at 43% off. That's a new low price. Now, in my opinion, this is the showcase game for the Switch 2. It is genuinely incredible what they've managed to pull off here. Now, is it perfect? No. Look, if you jump into the expansion or some locations, you're going to notice frame rate dips. But honestly, the fact they got this entire game running on the Switch 2 to me is just wild, and it runs better than Steam Deck. Now, for physical collectors, I do want to quickly point this out as well. I know you're watching a digital deals video, but I will still mention it's all on the cartridge with no extra downloads. That is amazing for a game that is around 60 gigs. So if you do want to support them in that way, this is just a really good game to do it on. As for the game itself, then it's a first-person action RPG, this huge neon city, and you're basically a mercenary navigating this world of corporate intrigue, cybernetic upgrades, tons of storylines, and a whole lot of branching storylines at that. The Ultimate Edition then also includes the Phantom Liberty DLC. That adds a whole new storyline and area to explore. And yeah, in short, it is an incredible RPG that really shows off what the Switch 2 can do. And yeah, at this price, just dive into Night City. You will not regret it. And that is the video down. What will you be adding to the library, if anything, from this little bonus video? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, again, if you haven't already, consider subscribing. It helps out the channel a huge amount. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers all.